Welcome to All Things Retreat Podcast. I'm Holly Porter, your host and CEO of Retreat R&R. With over 25 years of experience in designing transformative retreats, I'm here to share insights and inspiration to help you create extraordinary experiences. Whether you're a pro or just starting out, you'll find valuable ideas here. Enjoy the ride. Let's dive in. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show today. We're going to be having an awesome guest, as always. Dr. Karen Perkins is a motivational speaker, author, and organizational change expert. She's a leader, a coach for mindfulness in business and personal life. She's worked in 54 countries worldwide, and she, fun fact here, did 21 scuba dives before she learned how to swim. Can you imagine? She's also a good friend of mine, so I wanted to make sure we brought her on and had her more in the beginning of, we're still a new show, and if you're catching the first show, we're happy to have you here. We hope you come back often. I'll have a big variety of guests, and today it just happens to be Karen. So she's been amazing. We've done international and national events together, and so we've shared stages and done back of the room things and just all kinds of things with events. And she's been part of many masterminds, retreats. So you'll see when you talk to her, but really welcome, Karen. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. And I have to say, one of my favorite stages that I shared was at an event that you hosted, one of your events there in Vegas. And that was a phenomenal event. I'll tell you guys, Holly is the most inspirational person I have ever met. And I am honored to be her friend, and I am honored to be on the show today. So thank you so much for inviting me in and allowing me to be in your presence, because again, you are wonderful. And I say that with all sincerity.
Well, thank you. When you said that, I totally had an aha moment, because do you remember it wasn't even part of the event. The second day we made it part of the event. So Karen has a book. What's your book called?
Which one? I think it was the Emotional Power. Emotional Power has the books, the stuff, and then I have an animal one that's just the animals, that is called The Animal Within.
Yeah. And I did my personality persona. So they were each of them, your 4 basic personas. And mine was about shoes. If you were a shoe, what kind of shoe would you be? And Karen's was animals. So do you remember what we did?
I do. We put shoes on the animals.
You tell what you remember, because I thought it was super fun.
Oh, it was fun. We put shoes on the animals so that you could see really how it fit in. And then we went ahead and we did an activity with the group where they divided into their shoes or animals and came up with their own personality traits and things. And then we went back and talked about them, and they were all dead on. And it's like, when you can click in with something that identifies your personality, you really will remember it from that point forward. And your shoes are wonderful. I'm, of course, partial to my animals just because they're mine. Because they're mine. But it's one of those, if I tell you which one you are, it's not as much fun as if I say, which shoe are you most drawn to? Which animal are you most drawn to? And just let them go to that one without giving them any parameters. Yeah. And as you know, 99% of the time, they go where they belong. And
they feel so fish out of water. The more we discuss it, you see them wandering to the other side of the room, to the other corner where they should have been, right? Or this is where they wanted to be, but that's not really who they are. Did you notice that?
They do that. I had one once. It was so funny. So my animals, for those of you listening, they're the most obvious things in the world besides Holly shoes. It's a lion, which is your A-type personality, your peacock, your socializer, your lamb, your amicable, the one that gives the wool right off their back, and then the owl, the analytical. Well, I had a gal one day that couldn't decide between the am and the owl, and so she went to the lamb, and she said, well, I thought about going to the owl, but I thought that would be arrogant if I did that. And I just had to laugh. And I said, honey, if you think it would be arrogant to say you're an owl, you're not an owl.
Oh,
Because
so
an owl is like, I am analytical. And I
so
said, nope,
funny.
lamb is where you go. Yep. Owl, nope.
Yeah.
You might have owl tendencies. I
But
myself,
it brought the fun.
I,
It really, I thought it was so unique that we came up with that and just, it
yeah.
kind of shifted the whole energy. I think we did it right after lunch, I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
we did it right after lunch and everybody giggled and laughed and we had a great time.
Yeah. I have the best photos. My photographer at that event was called Prosperity Event is what it was
Yeah,
called.
prosperity.
And that photographer just caught moments of people's expressions. They're just precious pictures. I run
Yeah.
across them every now and again, and I'm just like, oh, there were such good memories, and it was a great
Yeah.
venue. It didn't hold
It
a ton of
was
people, but it
it
held what we had, and it
it
worked.
held the right amount of people.
Yeah,
You know, any events that are much bigger than that, you don't have the personal interaction with, and much
yeah,
smaller than that, it's not enough energy. So you
yeah.
had the perfect amount of people, the perfect venue. The guests that you had were wonderful.
Yeah.
Um, and I was just, it was thrilling to be there. But yeah, I think that is by far one of my favorite events I've ever had the opportunity to speak at.
Yeah, I did 3 of them, and then COVID took over, and there we all know what happened to live events, right? But I felt like it
Yeah.
was a little bit like a live event mixed mastermind, and
Yeah,
it was fun. Yeah, I
it
think people
was.
really got to
It it was a live event mixed mastermind. Absolutely.
yeah,
And
which is what I wanted to
anyway,
create. So there you go. So I was glad you were part of it. But really today, what we want to just share and talk about is people aligning with their purpose, their goals aligning with their purpose. And I had said to you, this is probably a good time, first week of March in 2025 when we're recording this. And people's goals from what they set in New Year's resolutions. So I want you to talk a little
mhm,
bit about that because we had a little previous discussion,
yeah.
and I think you had some great golden nuggets that you want to share about
Yeah.
that and how people are feeling in that slump about this time of year.
Well, I had someone tell me once, a wonderful mentor. They said, "Stop setting New Year's resolutions," and I went, "What?" I got to. I mean, we all have to set goals. And
Yeah.
she said, "No, stop setting resolutions because what we do is we list all the things we know we're bad at and we have to be good at." And we work really, really hard. The gym is really busy for the first 6 weeks of the year. And then we stop going. And then we beat ourselves up because we're a failure and we're a loser and blah, 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 blah. And so I thought about it and it was like, you know what? That makes sense. And then as I pondered, how do I go about doing this then? Because I don't want to just set a whole bunch of New Year's resolutions. Is I have to first be thankful for the talents that I have. Because if I'm not thankful for the talents that I have, I don't give myself the opportunity to feel the strength to move forward to another talent.
Yeah.
And so you have to acknowledge it. And you'll hear me say, I have many talents. This just happens to not be one of them. I'm okay with having some non talents
That's
because
right.
the
Not be
fact
good at
is,
everything.
well, if I were good at everything, I'd have no need for anyone else, first
Right.
off. And second off, how selfish of me to deprive someone else the opportunity to shine in their glory. Now,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean I don't need to improve and build new talents and things along the way, but I don't have to do everything. And it's okay to rely on other people in their strengths.
Yes.
So, anyway, first you got to be thankful for your strengths and for your talents and acknowledge them because humility, there's a
That word.
difference between being humble and being victimized.
Yeah.
And I really don't know how else to say it, but we downplay our abilities because we're trying to be humble. But what we're really doing is emotionally victimizing ourselves and
Mm.
saying, oh, I'm not that good. And that, I mean, you don't want to be victimized by somebody else. Why would you do it to yourself? You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And so the victimization. So acknowledge what you do well, Be proud of what you do well. You don't have to walk around going, I do this better than you. But, acknowledge what you do well. There are a lot of things that I do really well. And like I said, there are a lot of things I don't. And I can acknowledge both. But once you've done that, pick one thing and one thing only you want to work on improving in your life and work on that one thing. Keep focusing on the things you do well, but work on one thing that you want to improve. And
Yeah.
when you get to a point that you feel good about that one thing, move it to the list of the things that you do well and pat yourself on the back and keep focusing on those and
Love
pick one more thing you want to do well.
You know what I
And
did?
then start again. Go ahead.
2 years ago, I was just going to add to that. I love that idea. My one thing was to learn one new tech, something in tech. It could have been so simple or hard either way, but every day I wanted to know I learned one more thing. And if you think about it, that's 365 new tech things. And
Yeah.
nowadays you could learn more than that, but how easy would it be to get on Chat GPT and learn something? Think of a
Yep.
question, think of something you want to learn. Sometimes it's just a setting on my phone. I mean, I'll go on there and ask, and I don't do it every day. Well, I might. I don't know. If I think about it, I actually might. But I just remember how much I learned in 365 days just by adding one new little tweak.
Well, and it doesn't have to be anything even that important. I
Yeah.
I was in a gal's office the other day, and she had an Easter thing on her shelf or something. I don't remember. I mean, but it's something that sparked Easter in my mind. And I gotta turn off my phone. It's ringing. Um, and so what I did was I shared something that I was like, this is stupid, but I blurted it out before I stopped thinking.
Right.
And I said, you know how we determine what day Easter is each year, right? And she went, no. And
Uh,
I said, yeah, what they do. And you may know this, you may not. So, folks, if you don't know this, here's your new thing for the day.
uh,
They take the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox.
I didn't know that.
So that's why sometimes it's in March and sometimes the beginning of April, sometimes the end of April.
I thought it was
It's,
like Groundhog Day. The bunny came out and it was too
yeah,
cold. It went back in. I don't know.
too cold and went back in. But yeah, no, it's the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox.
Oh, there you
So if
go.
the full moon is, March 21st or 22nd, and
Yeah.
that's a Saturday, then Sunday, the 23rd of March is Easter.
Because it does vary. I like a
Yeah.
month. It
Yeah.
varies.
It's up to a month. Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, and I said, I know, random, who cares? And she's like, no, I try to learn something new every day. And those random things are fun
Yeah.
because she's like, you're right. Who needs to know that? But it's fun to know. And she's like, now I can mark off on my list that I learned something new today. And she
Love it.
says, I try to learn something new, be it what the meaning of a new word is or something. And she
Yeah.
says, now I can mark that off. And I mean,
When you
it's
were talking,
little
oh,
things
sorry.
like that. Go ahead.
Oh, totally. No, I love when you were talking about going back to like the New Year's resolution type thing. It reminded me what I like to do is start in October, November, and then instead of it feeling so heavy at the first of the year and feeling defeated by 6 weeks in or whatever it is for people, if you start in October, November planning, if it's a plan, it's easier not to fail than all
Yeah.
at once, right? This is a plan. This is my yearly goals, and these are my monthly goals and weekly goals and daily goals. These are I'm not going to deal with more than three things. I just think that overwhelm, if you could just chunk it down, it makes it easier. Because even when people have said, like, oh, do something for your birthday, like change something or set a goal for your birthday. Well, my birthday's New Year's Day. That doesn't help, folks. That doesn't work for me.
Well,
I'm just more overwhelmed.
the thing is, too, is people set these resolutions and they don't break it down, like you said, into the small chunks.
Yeah.
And so, like I want to walk. Before I got sick, I was walking 5 miles a day. I mean, it wasn't a lot, but it was 5 miles at a quick clip. And I got sick and I wasn't able to go out and do it and blah, blah, blah. Wow. Oh, woe is me. But I decided this week I'm going to get up and start walking again. Well, I have to make some arrangements because I'm taking care of my mom, for somebody to be here while I take care of her, or, to take care of her while I go out.
Right.
And, but I sat down and I went, okay, what actually do I have to do? Saying I'm going to get up and walk this morning is one thing, but
Mhm.
coming up with the plan first. Here's who's going to come watch mom. Here's what needs to be done. Here's the time of day I want to go walking. Here's when I want to be back. So if I don't get 5 miles in, fine, as long as I'm back by this time.
Right.
Um, what am I going to be able to do after I get back? Because that's going to determine, do I go first thing in the morning or do I go in the afternoon?
Yeah.
Um, and it was little things like that, instead of beating myself up because, oh my gosh, I those that know me probably know this. If you don't, um, I had breast cancer. We've got that taken care of, and then right away, my mom fell and lost all of her dependency. So
Yeah.
I'm taking care of my 92-year-old mother,
Rest her.
and I have to basically walk her everywhere she goes, and help her with all of her activities. And so I can't just get up and go walking. And I'm up 4, 5, 8 times a night, making sure her needs are being taken care of.
It's like a
And
new baby. It's like having a
it's
baby as a
it's
new
like
mother.
having a
Except
brand
you're
new
older and
baby.
you don't deal with it as well.
Well, it's like having a brand new baby, only they don't cry like a baby does, but they make you feel more guilty.
And they're also dead weight. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, right? Is that the right word to use?
Well,
I mean, if they
it's
fall, it's different. I mean, it's hard.
we luckily have a electric machine that we lay, it goes flat on the floor, that we roll her onto,
Nice.
that will lift up and lift her into a sitting position.
Oh my gosh, I
But
wish we
if
had
we
that.
didn't have that, we couldn't get her up,
Yeah.
because it is dead weight. And she's not ginormous, but she's well over 200 pounds. And when you've just had surgery,
Yeah.
you can't be
Yeah.
lifting well over 200 pounds dead
No.
weight by yourself. And 9 out of 10 times, I'm the only one here with her. And so,
Well, you've
you
been
know,
a trooper. I mean, it's been a rough
oh,
past year for you, and
it's
Karen does it with a smile on her face, and it's
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 been
amazing
a
how.
wonderful year. I've had some challenge. I've had some detours, but aren't detours wonderful because we get to see different paths and different sites we wouldn't have seen without that detour.
Well, let's
So
talk about that. That's all mindset. So talk
it
about that
is.
because you
It
specialize
is
in mindset.
all mindset. The fact is your thoughts actually control and change your genetic makeup.
Hmm.
Your physical genes will change with your thoughts. When
Yeah.
you have positive thoughts, your cells fill with that positivity.
Yep.
And our cells divide. Oh, I can't remember now how many days it is, but they divide, and you got positive cells are healthier cells, and they divide, and now instead of one cell you've got two healthy cells. When they're negative, the cells begin to deteriorate, and when they divide, you now have two deteriorating cells.
Hmm.
Okay. And the body replenishes the cells all the time too, but you don't want to have to be you don't want to have to be getting the toxins out of your body because of your
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah.
And
When they can be changed like that.
yeah, and in my book Emotional Power, I talk about the logic behind emotions and the emotions behind logic.
Yeah.
And you can't have one without the other. And what happens is our thoughts flow through the amygdala, that's about the size of a pinhead. And that amygdala assigns it its emotion and its physical reaction. What most people don't realize is that we have the same physical reaction oftentimes for opposite emotions.
Yeah.
Stage fright, for instance, and excitement, you know, the exact same physical response.
Right.
Your heart palpitates, you get knots in your stomach or butterflies, whatever you want. It's the mindset. So when you start to feel your stomach tighten and your heart palpitate, are you saying, "Oh my gosh, I've got knots and my heart's going to pound out, I'm dying," or do you say, "This is a new experience and I've got butterflies. I'm looking forward to learning something new."
Yeah.
And an example, and I give a personal example, not to say aren't I wonderful, but just to give a personal example, because people are like, how can you have breast cancer, go through a double mastectomy and not be like freaking out? Well, I realized as soon as they told me I had breast cancer, one of four things was going to happen, and I didn't have control over any of them.
Yeah.
They were going to give me a magic pill and everything was going to go away, which wasn't likely, but that's a possibility.
Yep.
They were going to do chemo or radiation, and it was going to make me good and sick, and it was going to heal me. Or they were going to do chemo and radiation, and it healed me, healed, one healed. Or they were going to do surgery, actually five things: do surgery and remove all the tissue, or they were going to do surgery and I still have to do radiation, chemo.
Mhm.
Well, I had no choice. I was either going to live or I was going to die. And if I was going to die, I wanted to live while I was alive. And I learned that from my sister. My sister, she'd have a heavy heart because she had some bad things happen in her life, but
Mhm.
she chose to be happy. And that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day because it's a 10-minute story, but I learned so much from her. But I decided, you know what? It's scary. It's scary as heck,
Yeah.
but I'm going to choose to allow myself to be scared because you don't deny emotions. You can be ticked, you can be angry, you can be frustrated, you can feel resentful, that's okay. But you
Mhm.
can also feel love and excitement and joy and happiness, and that's okay. So I went through all of the emotions that you go through with loss because it was a loss mentally.
Yeah.
Um, and I said, I have those emotions. Face it, deal with them. Okay, you have those emotions. Do you want to die in those emotions, or do you want to enjoy life while you can and die in those emotions if death is the answer? And
Mhm.
I said, if I am going to die, I want to die happy. And I really knew in my heart of hearts I wasn't going to die and everything was going to be fine. Well,
Yeah.
now, was that a mindset or was that a knowledge from God or the universe or whomever?
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? It's most likely a mindset because I've
So,
chosen to look at things that way. With my mom falling, my heart has broken for my mom.
right.
Absolutely broken. And there are days where I could just throat punch somebody, not her, because I'm frustrated. I mean, there are those days. I never throat punch anybody. That is just wrong. Okay.
Well,
My
unless you're being attacked.
yeah, my brother bought me a cloth doll that's a damn it doll that you're supposed to beat and say damn it, damn it, damn it, because that's the name of the doll. Um, I thought that was funny. But again, I'm feeling the emotions that are not necessarily positive,
Yeah.
but I've chosen to be grateful for this opportunity to be with my mom and to serve her
Mm.
because I know when the time comes, I will have all of these memories of being able to be with her, and I will feel better about myself, and
Yeah.
I will feel better about the world having lived in service
Yes.
instead of having lived in panic and been doing something else. And honestly, my heart breaks for her because I mean, to have all your independence just taken away from you, how I can't
Right.
even begin to comprehend what that would be like. I just can't. And at the same point, how lucky I am that I can be there and love her through this time and know that she's got somebody that loves her. And
Yeah.
it's not that the other kids don't love her, but the other kids aren't where they can be with her. And I am. And, that was a conscious choice we made last summer when she called and said, please
Right.
come move in with me so that, I need somebody to help take care of me.
Yeah, which is a huge sacrifice.
And
Hey
well,
Karen,
but it's not.
what I would like to do is, because we keep these shows about this long,
Oh,
not usually any longer. What I want to do is end this show, and then if you guys like this juice, we're going to record a second one that'll come out the next Wednesday. And if you're listening to this later, then just know it's the next show, and we're going to jump over there. And I want to talk about processing emotions, grief, all the stress. Everybody has it. And as retreat leaders and people that are running events and have
yeah.
venues,
Yeah.
their life goes on, like things happen, and we can be in the middle of doing a retreat and something happens. We can plan a retreat. We can be, have a venue and having 20 people coming to your venue and your mother dies or whatever. So what I want to do is end this show where we're
Okay.
at and jump over, and we'll record one for next week, because I think it's really important. And I think they'd want to hear the story about your sister. I know it's very tender and I love it. So if that's good with you, then hang on, everybody. Jump to the next one. We'll keep it again around 20 minutes. This one's a little longer than we normally do. So just know that our shows are fairly short. So don't let us lose you. I think you'll want to hear the rest of the juice. So join us again next week. Thanks, Karen.
Ciao for now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of All Things Retreat. We hope you're leaving with new ideas, fresh inspiration, and the motivation to take your retreats to the next level. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It helps us grow and reach more retreat leaders like you. And if you have any questions, topics you'd like us to cover, or just want to say hello, send us an email at info@weretreatrnr.com. Follow us on social media to stay connected and catch all the latest updates. Until next time, remember, great retreats start with great intentions. Let's make them extraordinary, one step at a time.